let me take you around my yard. One of my pleasures along with cooking is gardening and cultivating what I get to cook with. I'm coming over to the tomatoes now.
Those are tomatoes?
They are. Got some blossoms.
And what are these tomatoes too?
These are all Romas, which are really the best for canning, for making sauces, for making pizza sauce, tomato sauce. Just slicing, I actually prefer them. They're very firm. Thai basil, I don't know how they're doing there. It's a spicier basil. And as you would think, it's used in Thai cuisine. This is an eggplant. This is also a Roma. I have Thai chili, sometimes called bird's eye chili. Very spicy. Tiny little chilies, very key in Thai cooking. This is chives. It should grow into a nice big bush. And right next to it we have sage. Italian basil. Yep, and this is a bell pepper. We have 4 apricot trees in my yard, a new place we've moved, and that's very exciting to me because one thing, people know that dried fruits are high in sugar, but what they don't know is they're high in iron. And lots of places around the world that don't have access to greens year-round, and I know lots of people think, oh my gosh, how do they get iron in their diet if they don't have leafy greens? Lots of other ways you can do it. And in fact, apricots are a key ingredient in Moroccan cooking. And you put it into a stew-like dish that's called a tagine, and it provides sweetness, it provides iron. There's all kinds of minerals that are in this fruit and are intensified when they're in dried fruit. And the other great thing about where I am in terms of where I live is that there's so many birds, and birds are one of the best ways to control insect population because that's what they live on. So when you're growing things without chemicals, without pesticides, getting rid of those pests, birds are your best friend. And so having the birds just loving all the fruit trees in the yard and eating all the bugs off of them, it's a cycle of life. This is a mulberry tree, and mulberries are some of the what I think of as more the older berries in America, because they do spring up on their own, but they haven't been cultivated because they're harder to pick the berries, and they grow into trees as opposed to bushes. But they are my favorite berry. They are just a unique fruit. I grew up with these in my backyard in Connecticut. I love them. And they need a male and a female near each other in order to produce fruit. It's kind of unusual. That's not typical in the fruit world. But we have the irrigation system set up down here so that it's drip irrigation, which means it dramatically conserves the amount of water that's used to water it, but it is set up so it delivers the water directly to the roots. And it's a very slow drip, which is the best way for plants to get water. So we expect this to be fruiting within a couple of years. I'm so excited to find these in the yard. In fact, these grow like weeds in Italy in open fields, and they are all over California, but you really have to cultivate them in order to get a really nice artichoke out of it. You can tell by looking at the leaves, they are part of the thistle family. And when an artichoke goes to seed, it's this beautiful purple fuzzy flower. But these are one of my favorite, I guess you can call it a fruit, I'm not sure it's a vegetable, of all times, and I'm really excited to be cultivating them in my own yard. Very happy to have a lemon tree in my yard. Lemons are a huge part of my cooking, particularly in preparation of salads. A little squeeze of lemon juice, that little acidity, brings out the flavor of vegetables, raw vegetables, unlike vinegar does. I do enjoy vinaigrette on my salads, but lemon juice is kind of the perfect accompaniment for any kind of raw vegetables as a dressing. Yeah, so lemon trees have these beautiful white flowers that are pretty ornate. And where I live here in the Ojai Valley, The citrus are in full bloom and you can smell them walking down the street. It is an incredible heavenly perfume. This is the orange tree that we have in the yard. It's actually quite small compared to the orange groves that are around here in the Ojai Valley. Oranges I use more often, I would say, in desserts and less in vinaigrettes because they are sweeter and usually rely on citrus for the acidity. But orange zest is one of my favorite things to use. So these are buds. These oranges are blooming for many months out of the year. There are some places where they have a much shorter season, so it looks like we're still going to be getting some fruit even through the hot weather of the summer. But that remains to be seen. So this is it's called the California pepper tree. It is not actually from California. It's a non-native that migrated here from South America. But those little berries can be dried, and that's where you get red peppercorns. Not Sichuan peppercorns, which are also red, but these have a fruity, almost sweet and spicy flavor to them. And these trees are all over the Ojai Valley. They're very delicate to harvest. They're very pretty. We're pretty sure this is a plum tree. Plums come into season in the fall and through the winter. And it looks like the fruit is just starting to come on. Lots of different plums out there, so I'll be curious to see what this one actually shows up to be. This one looks pretty healthy. This is our second tangerine bush, which is still pretty good. It's a little on the tart side, not super sweet. Has a few seeds, but definitely delicious fruit. I've been enjoying this for breakfast quite a bit. This is something along the lines of that mandarin orange, only it's a little tartar, so this would be great in Asian style salads.
I called it a tangerine bush.
Because it doesn't have a single stalk, a single trunk. It's got several of them coming off of it. That's what happens if you don't prune fruit like this. You know, most orange trees have to be pruned and trained to grow up into a single stalk. Otherwise, you have all these what are called suckers. Those extra limbs that start down at the bottom. It's not very tart, it's just got a tartness to it that you don't necessarily expect. It peels pretty nicely. It's got a few pips in the middle, seeds. Do that. Definitely provides a nice little mouthful. And you know fruit is ripe when the peel comes off easily like this and it falls apart. And there you go. Tad on the tart side, but still very fun to pick your fruit off the tree in the yard. We think this might be a cherry tree. We're not sure. Time will tell. I have an understanding that peaches are difficult, so we'll see how this one goes. But it's always good to see ladybugs. Ladybugs are your best friend when they're true ladybugs like that. They eat lots of aphids. Aphids love fruit and roses. They're bugs that can destroy a fruit in 24 hours. So along with the birds, it's always good to see ladybugs around.